Hello, hello. How is everyone doing today? My name is Justine Broker, and I'm trying something a little new today. Not going to lie, I'm a little nervous, but I think these things need to be talked about. And so, since people are kind enough to make their comments public on social media, I think it's fair game. So, what I would like to do is dive into the little investigative rabbit hole that I went down when I learned that there were some parents at our school who were trying to ban a book that was being taught in my son's eighth grade English class. So I am just going to rearrange a few things. I want to just go through some initial social media comments that I had seen and kind of do a little reaction in depth, share my thoughts on what these people are talking about. So if you are watching, let me know where you are watching from. And if you are familiar or if you've ever heard of book banning, it's kind of the new thing. So let me just move a few things around here. And see, this is why I need my backup crew here. Okay. So we are going to share my screen. I want to share this one. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of context, let's see here. I made some slides. So this is how I stay on task. So the book that some people were trying to get banned in our school district is called The Absolutely True Diary of an Part-Time Indian. And a super brief synopsis of the book is that this novel is from the perspective of a 14-year-old Native American teenager. And he is going to school in a nearly all-white public school away from the reservation. And it's written in a diary format. So it really takes the reader into the perspective of the main character, Junior. Now, I just wanted to see if I could. Nope. Okay. So the controversy stems from the talk of alcohol and poverty. There's domestic violence, sexuality, there's profanity, racial slurs that are used within the novel. So this had some parents concerned, and we're going to get into that. So this was the initial post that came up and kind of started the entire discussion of banning the book. And this is a parent at our school, and she provided updates throughout, but she was very passionate about being upset that they were not given notice that their son was reading this material. So she went along to, and again, she shared it completely public. So she also shared the response from the principal and the picture that her son sent her that got her upset. So I went to this post and I started to dig into the comments. I love to investigate, and so that's just where I went. So people were saying, can you make this shareable if you're comfortable? And, mentioning that all parents need to start attending school board meetings to know what's going on in our schools. And yeah, I guess I shared this one because of their discussion about it being public. Okay. So then people started sharing this post, and I find the responses and the shared to be very interesting. And I'm probably going to do another video on this to actually go to my Facebook page, but people were going nuts. This one, let's see here. This one person, was talking about, you can read the comment here, but, asking about what about the Diary of Anne Frank, the Odyssey, Lord of the Flies. And I went in and realized that while it's great to offer options, these books are actually banned as well. The Diary of Anne Frank is referred to as a real downer. And it talks about Anne Frank's body changing as a young woman. And the Odyssey was banned for violence and sexism. Lord of the Flies was banned of profanity. You get the point. So as you can see, there are a lot of people who are really upset. Like Laura here, she said she doesn't care about the context. Nothing else in the book can change those words. Proud of you, Beth, for standing up for our kids. And what I find to be extremely interesting about all of this is the fact that there were students asked about this book who have already gone through through 8th grade. They're in high school. They're and what their takeaways were from the book, and the responses that students are still sharing to this day just validated how important it is that this literature be taught to our kids. And, some of the things were that it helped them learn that they need to have empathy for people because they don't always know what's going on at their home life. Other students shared that they were able to relate to Junior on certain levels, and it wasn't to the masturbation and the racial slurs or the domestic violence. It was bigger than that. The students actually went further in their perspective and openness than a lot of adults, I noticed the other night. So this, she's obviously very, very passionate. I don't want to know if a 13-year-old is pleasuring themselves. In my opinion, that is something to be done in private, not loudly discussed or idolized. Don't get me wrong. If a 13-year-old had questions about it and asked me, I'd do my best to help answer. But this just kind of this kind of frustrates me, just because of the fact that I'm almost done, babe. Okay. Just because this is where body shaming comes from. This is where kids feeling uncomfortable with their bodies or their sexuality, or maybe they're sexually assaulted. This is where the shame comes into play, is when parents are so freaked out about anything that has to do with pleasure and their kids. And while it's uncomfortable, essentially you're causing trauma to these young lives, and putting your narrative, your discomfort into their reality, so that they don't want to do that. They don't want to go there. So this is a good one. I really wanted to share because I want to remind you, they're very concerned about the language and the language being used in the book. But then we have Charles here. WTF is wrong with the system. Effing libtards. So I'm not quite sure, how Charles speaks around in his house with his kids, but that's definitely not how we talk in our household. That's far more concerning. And so it's just really, I find it extremely interesting that parents can be so upset and wanting to control what their kids are being exposed to, when there are so many kids in this country whose life, they would read that book and that life is relatable. They can relate to that book because that is what it is like for them. But when you are in small town Minnesota, majority of the population is white. We're a very small school. It's very whitewashed, and that became very, very clear to me last week at the committee meeting. Now, they did come and say, ultimately they did not ban the book, but they decided to put some parameters around it, such as that the book cannot be introduced into 8th graders until they have gone through health. There is a permission slip that needs to go home before the students can start reading the book in class. So if someone doesn't get a return permission slip saying it's okay to read this book, they don't get to read it. They get an alternative text in an alternative location with alternative lessons. Really. I also find it interesting as I dug into some of these people, into their social media, how passionate they are about guns and abortion laws. And you can probably tell where I'm going with this. That's another video. But yeah, it just really proved to me that the community that we live in, the community that we're raising our kids in, has a lot of work to do, and a lot. This work isn't easy, and there's going to be a lot of upset people, and which was why I was so hesitant to even come on and talk about it. But you know what? If they're sharing their opinion publicly, I'm going to share mine as well. So that is, I think, going to wrap it up for today. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, or if you have heard of book banning, if it's either happened in your community or you've just heard of it, and what your thoughts are. I'd love to have future discussions on this, because I think it's very, very important for us to let our kids be exposed to other people's realities. And it's not to make them feel guilty. It's not to make them ashamed of their life. It's not to take away their innocence. That's the one that gets me. Like, that was a big reason, is they wanted to preserve their kids' innocence. And, I guess I'd rather that my kid know about masturbation than go experiment sex with a girl or a boy or whatever he chooses to do. I just don't think that, I think there are much bigger things that we need to be focusing on and putting our efforts into, rather than banning a book that has made such a large impact on students already. So I hope that this gets out there. I hope that people see this. I hope that people engage. I don't know if it's just because I'm inconsistent with posting or what, but I want to get these live streams ramped up. I want to start doing giveaways. I want to start having conversations. I want to start hearing from people who may not agree with me. Like, it's okay to not agree with me. And obviously, I don't agree with people that I'm showing. So with that, I hope you have a great weekend. Please stay safe, and we'll see you soon.